We've been joined on phone by the NPP Director of Communications, Boabian Samoa, and also NDC Communications Director, Kakra Samoa. Let me begin with you, Kakra Samoa. I'm grateful for your time, but the Peace Council says you are not cooperating in achieving the peace that is needed for these elections. Why?
Unfortunately, I do not understand that position by the Peace Council. We all met as political parties with them as mediators, and we drew up a roadmap and a code of conduct. The Peace Council, which was our mediator, and which saw us all through whatever happened, you've seen two people fighting, and you want to call their parents before you tell them to stop fighting. I do not understand what they are saying. It is an abandonment of duty to suggest that the political parties are not cooperating. If you have seen two people fighting, as citizens of this country, they have a right and a duty to hand them over to the police. Simple and short.
Let me bring in Messiah Boabian Samoa. Okay, before I go to him, now there's been wide condemnations, for instance, for the Minister Hawa Kumson's conduct of firing gunshots. We've also heard of other gunshots in other areas, Asawase, for instance. But also the NDC supporters have been accused of perpetuating violence in many of the registration centers, for instance. Are you aware? And what drastic measures are you taking to avert a recurrence?
Is the question directed to me or
to you, Kakra Samoa?
Yes, we have reports of the violence that has occurred across the country. But the nature of the report that we are having, we are the victims of electoral violence, and we are not the perpetrators. As you said, there was something at Kaswa. You are also aware of what happened at Banda. It has happened to our people, our supporters, our sympathizers, and we are not happy at all about it. And we hope and expect that the security agencies will be fair and firm and deal with all those who are perpetrating it.
But what have you done at the party level?
At the party level, we take our people to hospital. Those who have been injured, we take them to the hospital.
Are you saying that NDC supporters are not also causing trouble at the registration centers?
I have not received any such reports. If I do, I will let you know.
So are we going to see a change in attitude regarding cooperation with the Peace Council going forward? Because they say both major political parties are not cooperating.
As I said, I do not even understand what the Peace Council is saying. Because there has not been a single occasion that they called on us. They asked us, come, let's meet. Come, let's look at this issue. Come, let's address this problem. Then we refuse to accede to their request. So I do not understand what they are saying. If they call us and they think that we are influential or important to resolving a particular issue, we will go and listen to them. Why not?
I'm grateful for your time. Mr. Kakra Samoa is NPP Communications Director. Also on the other line is Mr. Boabian Samoa, who is NPP Communications Director. Mr. Boabian, what justification do you have not to cooperate with the Peace Council in achieving electoral peace?
That's a very serious statement. What do you mean by justification for not cooperating?
Because the Peace Council says you're not cooperating, please, both political parties.
I understand there's a report from a specific regional director of the Peace Council, not even the National Peace Council. Let us put everything in context. First of all, the fact that there is heightened interest in political violence emanates from a point, and that point is the president's bold measures in putting in place certain factors after IOS West Wagon. That cannot be denied. That reforms, recognition of political violence at political level, and the political will required to have put in place a vigilante act, to have put in place a dialogue for the political parties, and to have put in place the also West Wagon Commission of Inquiry. Now, those measures will necessarily time lag. That those measures have been put in place does not mean overnight violence will disappear. So what we need to look at is what is the level of violence and what is the containment situation? What are we measuring what we are seeing against? Are we seeing more violence than before? And when is before? Are we seeing reduced violence? And is there any limit at all? Is it the case that we're going to have zero violence? Is there a limit of toleration? Indeed, I don't want to go the Kakra way, that it's the NDC and it is the NPP, because until the police investigate and determine who is visiting violence or who, we cannot make those value judgments. We also believe that the NDC is deliberately heightening matters of violence in a way that will create the assumption that the registration exercise is being marred entirely by violence. We don't believe it is so.
Mr. Samoa,
it's been largely very, very peaceful. We believe it's been largely very, very peaceful. So, yes.
There are concerns that the reason why we would have even more violence is because the NPP, for instance, has not condemned acts of people like the Minister for Special Initiatives, Howard Kumsin's act, which people think is unacceptable.
What has she done that has to be condemned? That she defended herself? We have asked the police to look at it. So what are we condemning? We are condemning her and judging her. That's what I'm saying, the Peace Council, if it is not emanating from national level, it's emanating from regional level, we need to have a more scientific basis of measuring our mutual progress. Peace Council has helped to put in place a fantastic initiative that is party dialogue and the roadmap. The two major parties have signed onto the roadmap. It's a roadmap that involves law enforcement agencies as well as the parties themselves. And I'm saying that whatever it is, there is no way that in the affairs of human beings, overnight, because of those measures, we won't see anything at all. We will see some sort of disruption somewhere or other. The question we must be asking ourselves, and I hope we could put in place a scientific measure instead of this blanket violence thing, about the level we are seeing, whether there's a marked reduction, it's not tolerable at all and ought not to happen at all. But we are human beings, and therefore the measures must bite and bite gradually.
At your party's level, what have you done so far to ensure we limit some of these acts?
We haven't issued instructions for anybody to be violent. We are a very restrained party. We respect the rule of law, and we believe that this exercise can go on without any violence.
So you won't at least caution your supporters?
Of course we have. What makes you think we haven't cautioned our supporters? We have. I am in Adenta, I haven't seen a single incident of violence. Nowhere.
I'm grateful for your time.
I'm saying that we must have a scientific process for measuring what we are talking about. Otherwise, we create the impression that the country is ablaze, when that is not the case.
Thank you very much. Yao Boabian Samoa is NPP Communications Director. Adam Bona is back on Zoom. Adam Bona, you've been listening to both parties on how they intend to help resolve some of these violence. Satisfied?
Not really. Not satisfied. I mean, yes, I've listened to both of them. It looks like it's the ordinary Ghanaian, or, the ordinary persons like myself who tend to suffer when these party faithfuls or, call them vigilante groups amongst them, decide to take the laws into their own hands. And now we are beginning to have persons like Howard Kumsin, who seems to be leading the vigilante groups and not getting fired. And so as far as I'm concerned, until such a time that the president decides to be very, swift in dealing with some of these matters, it is going to get out of hand, and it's gradually getting out of hand because if for nothing at all, one would have expected that if you didn't respect the police, once the military appeared, you would respect the military. But to have this young man who probably 1 or 2 days training at one of these camps, he comes and he's been given a firearm and is brandishing this firearm in front of uniformed military officers who are armed with assault rifles, and then you have a uniformed police officer and he's threatening him. And so I would say probably we have moved on as a nation. The days of coups and all that is gone. And so you have persons like him who take the law. I am not satisfied. If you ask me, yes, the Yababuna someone spoke. Yes, of course, within the Adenta municipality, this hasn't taken place. But that's not to say we haven't seen it. It is happening, the length and breadth of the country. And as far as I'm concerned, we cannot use probably Adenta as a yardstick. If you go to Kaswa, you go to other places, there are widespread confrontations going on. Instead of resorting to the civilized way of doing things, challenging, those who are not supposed to be registering, they are rather using violent measures in doing this. And why wouldn't they do that? Because you have Howard Kumsin once again, who decided to go into a registration center armed. And so for me, I doubt this young man who openly displayed a firearm in the Asamasi area would be punished. I have heard the police give a lame excuse. I mean, they are my friends, but it is very lame to say that, oh, we are investigating it. I would have wanted to hear, we have arrested him. Because if he was a police officer who behaved this way towards any of his colleagues, he would have been arrested and probably facing service inquiry. If he's a military officer, they would have kept him in a guard room. So what is the difference? I mean, what is happening so that you have, once people are given certain cards and armed and said you are a national security official, you are above the law. For me, we need to tread cautiously, or else it looks like where we, the bar seems to be taking us might not be too pleasant. And so we've got to tread cautiously, or else things might get out of hand. Looking at the way, instead of now fisticuffs, we have people brandishing guns, and guns are not toys. They kill. Guns, they are not toys. They kill. And so I am worried. They kill. Aisha.
All of us are worried. Adam Bona is security analyst, and he's been explaining why we need to curb these violences before it gets out of hand.